Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Cathedral. The Sunshine Cathedral is a different kind of church where the past is past and the future has infinite possibilities. And with that, we invite you to come and worship with us here on Sunday mornings at 9 and 10:30 a.m. at 1480 Southwest 9th Avenue. Now, I invite you to come in and worship with us here at the Sunshine Cathedral.
Our first reading today is from the Odes of Solomon. Stand up with your shoulders back, you who sank low, you who were silent, speak. Your mouth has been opened. You were despised, now feel uplifted. Your goodness is high. God is with you and will keep you. In these human words, God's voice is heard.
God is with you. A reading from the Gospel according to John. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. And he showed himself in this way. Gathered there together were Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two other of his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, "I'm going fishing." They said to him, "We will go with you." They went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Just after daybreak, Jesus stood on the beach, but the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, "Children, you have no fish, have you?" They answered him, "No." He said to them, "Cast the net to the right side of the boat, and you will find some." So they cast it in, and now they were not able to haul it in because there were so many fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is our teacher." When Simon Peter heard that it was Jesus, he put on some clothes, for he was naked, and jumped into the sea. But the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far away from land, only about 100 yards off. When they had gone ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there, with fish on it and bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish that you have just caught." So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore, full of large fish, 153 of them. And though there were so many, the nets were not torn. This is the gospel, the good news.
The season of Easter, or Eastertide, continues. Of course, in the Christian tradition, every Sunday is a resurrection day, but we focus specifically on resurrection possibilities from Easter Day unto Pentecost. And so we continue our series today, Resurrection Means. Every week in Eastertide, we will look at resurrection means something in how we live our lives now, something that is uplifting and powerful to us now. And so today's thought is, resurrection means abundant life. Are you ready to experience an abundant life? Say yes. Yeah. You know what? When you want to claim something for yourself, when you want to embrace something and let it be made manifest in your experience, sometimes, rather than just saying it, it's better to sing it. Don't you think this yes deserves a victory cry sort of yes? Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Very good. There's more. Yes, 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 yes. I like it. Yeah. Yes deserves applause. Yes, yes. I like it. Abundance is feeling supported in life by life. Abundance is trusting that there is grace equal to every need. Abundance is the awareness of our unity with all good. Abundance is the power to recognize and accept the blessings that are always at hand. Jesus said, "I have come that you may have life and have it abundantly." I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. The abundant life is the life we are meant to live. We usually think of abundance as wealth. But the greatest wealth we can have is the power to choose our thoughts. There is a wealth of thinking available to us, and we get to choose the thoughts we think, and the thoughts we think will determine our attitudes, and our attitudes determine our feelings, and our feelings determine our experience of life. And so we have that wealth of possibilities just by choosing our own thoughts. That is wealth indeed. The thoughts that we choose, and we can direct those thoughts. The energy of those thoughts can create harmony and joy and peace in our lives. Are you aware of such abundance? Do you know that such abundance is within your grasp? I didn't ask, are situations and circumstances to your liking? I didn't ask if things are easy in the moment. The question is, do you know that there are possibilities, even in spite of all that, that you can think a new thought, a thought that helps you see past the difficulty, a thought that helps you feel good in spite of the difficulty? Do you know that that kind of abundance is within your grasp? Now, when I speak of abundance, I don't really mean money. Money is one of the many forms that energy takes, and we need money in our society and in our world, and most of us can think of ways we could use a bit more of it. But money is one manifestation of abundance. It's not the meaning of abundance. It's one of the ways that abundance shows itself to us, but it's not the only way, and it's not the meaning of abundance. There are those with vast sums of money who don't believe they have enough. And there are those who make what many would consider a meager income, and yet they find their every need is perfectly met, and they experience happiness and love and fulfillment every day of their lives. Abundance isn't how much you have. It's about how much you appreciate, how much you are grateful for, and how much you see as being possible in your life. Abundance can't be limited by empty pockets, and it can't be limited to gross income. Abundance is the experience of life that is joyful, meaningful, and productive. And that kind of abundant living is available to all of us. There is an abundant story that we all share. Everyone in this room shares a particular abundant story. Sunshine Cathedral outgrew their previous location several years ago, as they had outgrown the one before that. This one is thankfully big enough that when we outgrow this one, we can just add on to it. There won't be any more moves. But I shouldn't say that. I just shouldn't say, who knows? When we go to 7 services, we may just decide better to get a bigger place. But that's not happening in the next couple of years. And so the church had outgrown 2 locations already. Under the leadership of the previous 2 pastors, the church kept moving forward and needing to expand and change and grow, a leadership tradition that I have dedicated myself to continuing. And when the church outgrew their second property, they tried to buy a new property. But some errors were made, and they didn't get the property, and they spent most of their reserves trying to get out of that situation. Later, Walt Lawrence, for whom this room is named, and others, stepped up to purchase this property, and Sunshine Cathedral had a new home. But with the new home came new expenses and almost no reserves to meet those expenses. A foundation was formed to secure the needs of the physical property. And I encourage you to plan to leave some part of your life insurance or savings to the Sunshine Cathedral Foundation in your will, as that is how the bricks and mortar needs will be maintained. What you give in the plate supports daily operations and ministry, and what you leave in your estate planning supports property preservation and expansion and future endowments. The church and its foundation, working together, are tapping into a future of infinite possibilities. The move was a dream come true. Dreams were dreamed and risks were taken, and thank God for the dreams and the dreamers and the risk takers, but dreams come at a cost. Dreams aren't really free, not the fulfilling of them anyway. New property, new windows, new piano, new organ, new chancel. It's all lovely, and people were generous to make it all happen with above and beyond donations, but there remained the daily and weekly needs of outreach and ministry and worship planning and pastoral care and religious education and benevolence and so forth. We looked good and still do. But what many people didn't see was the struggle to maintain ongoing ministry within the beautiful space. Have you ever noticed in your own life that on the outside people think you're doing great, but on the inside there's struggle, there's turmoil, there's fear or regret or anxiety? It looks good, but on the inside there's still work to do. Well, in time, a couple of hurricanes came along and took their toll on the community, and eventually the housing market crashed and the economy suffered. And that was true nationwide, but particularly true in Florida. And as was true of many families and businesses, Sunshine Cathedral found itself in full-blown financial crisis by 2006. Let's face it, we were broke. Some individuals made heroic sacrifices to keep the doors open and ministry going. One of those heroes was our own executive director, Ed Johnson, whose dedication and radical generosity at personal cost remains one of the untold stories of selfless Christian stewardship. And there were others. I think we should thank those who made those sacrifices for us. Would you thank them right now? Our aged payables took multiple pages to record, and our debts were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. A quarter of payroll taxes wound up being unpaid, and the IRS doesn't take kindly to that. And in the summer of 2007, a payroll bounced, and recovery from that was not quick. And yet, do you know that those people who weren't paid, not one of them quit in response? They just wrote it out. That's abundance. Following all of that, in the fall of 2007, I was installed as senior pastor, and instead of enjoying the usual 18-month honeymoon period, I had to launch into budget cutting and fundraising and morale boosting from day one. But we said over and over and over that God was the source of our supply, and our source was infinite. God was the source of our supply, and our source was infinite. We remembered the words of Emma Curtis Hopkins, "There is good for me, and I ought to have it." Let's say that together. There is good for me, and I ought to have it. And we also remembered those words of Emma, "There is no mixture of evil with my good." We affirmed that grace was equal to every need. We held an intention to build a culture of generosity whereby we would all share the burden and responsibility and rewards of ministry, and that together as a generous community, we would overcome our difficulties. And each year since then, we've grown. And each year since then, giving has increased, and God bless every faithful giver. And each year since then, we have paid down debts, and we ended 2012 in the black and experienced a record first quarter in 2013. Give yourselves a hand. Now, there's still work to do. We still have aged payables, but not dozens. They now number in the single digits. Almost nothing in comparison. We still don't yet have great reserves. I said we still don't yet have great reserves. And of course, we will never have infinite reserves, because if we had infinite reserves, we aren't doing enough ministry. But we don't yet have great reserves, but we consistently take in more than we spend, and we spend less than we budget. And we have discovered how to do a lot of ministry on a tight budget, no matter what the economy is like. Because God is the source of our supply, and our source is infinite. Let's say that together. God is the source of our supply, and our source is infinite. The dreams and risks of the past can now be honored by renewed health and vitality. The air castles were well built, as Thoreau said, and we have spent the last half-decade putting foundations under them. And that has meant new visions and courageous changes and deep faith. And as a result, we have been blessed and the best is still to come. I have so much faith in you, in your dedication, in your positive thinking, in your generosity, in your commitment to being the manifestation of God in the world today. I have no doubt that we will double our outreach and impact over the next half decade. We have experienced abundance. Even in difficult times, we were abundantly blessed. We didn't always experience avalanches of cash. And we've done everything from yard sales to drag shows to raffles to raise the money needed for ministry, but we consistently have had the experience of abundance. Do you see the difference? Do you see how you can tap into abundance regardless of circumstances? An abundance of hope, an abundance of joy, an abundance of insight, wisdom, courage, and peace is always at hand. We now know that the storms of life can hit literally and figuratively, but they cannot wash away hope or commitment or faith. And with those tools, we can always rebuild or resurrect the abundant life we have been promised. Now, the abundance continues. We today have more women in worship. And thank you, women, for taking a chance on us. Thank you for, even though you were outnumbered, still showing up, participating, contributing, inviting friends, and helping us become more diverse. Please keep up that good work. Will the men please thank our sisters who have helped revitalize our church? The women of the Sunshine Cathedral are part of the church's abundance. Half the staff and half the board are now women, a gender balance first in our church's history. We have interreligious couples, straight, gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender folk, a growing Latino-Latina presence, and people of all ages, from ages in the single digits to ages going past 90. And of course, we still have lots of men, myself included, and we are learning to become men who rely less on male privilege and more on the values and ideals of the justice-seeking, world-changing, diversity-demanding Christ. Our difficulties don't define us. Our hopes do. Circumstances don't define us. Our generosity does. Ups and downs don't define us. Our commitment does. Our detractors don't define us. Our call to mission and ministry does. We are each the thinker that thinks the thought that makes the thing. And we can choose to keep our thoughts positive, and we can choose to remember that we live in an abundant universe, and God is the source of our supply, and our source is infinite. We are the channels through which the source flows, but let us never think we are the source. We are the channels through which the source flows, and as we participate in the circulation of divine supply, we seem to prosper more as well, but we remain clear that God is the source, and the source will never run dry. When Jesus' friends were fishing, you thought I forgot about the story. When Jesus' friends were fishing, but catching nothing, and they kept doing it the same way, but things weren't going well. When they kept fishing but catching nothing, and they kept doing what was no longer working, Jesus comes along and suggests that they try a new thing. They'd been fishing their whole lives. They'd done a good job, but it was time to do a new thing and try a new thought. And he says, cast your net on the other side of the boat. Dare to change your approach, your attitude, your expectation, change your thinking, reach out in a new direction. Change your thinking and you'll change your world. And it worked. Their net was filled to capacity as they dared to trust the abundance of the sea by approaching it in a new way. We've proven it as a church, and now you know how to apply it in your own life. Cast your net in a new direction. If things aren't going well, if your life is filled with fear or anxiety, cast your net in a new direction. Don't keep doing the thing that's making you miserable. Don't keep doing the thing that's keeping you stuck. Cast your net in a new direction. Be grateful for what you have and be aware that there is more good to come. And if it's not coming in this way, think a new thought and cast your net in a new direction. What we praise, we raise. Where attention goes, energy flows. What we think about consistently, we bring about eventually. If we're focusing on lack and limitation, we are probably going to experience more of the same. It's time to start focusing on possibilities, on the good that is at hand. Because what we think about consistently, we will bring about eventually. If the church had only focused on lack and difficulty, we'd still be stuck in lack and difficulty. If the early church had only focused on the oppression of the Roman Empire, had only focused on how they had been hurt, had only focused on how Jesus had been crucified, had only focused on how Paul had been beheaded, had only focused on martyrdom, if they had only focused on what was difficult, they would probably be a footnote in history instead of a living presence even today. But they focused on resurrection possibilities, and they continued moving forward, casting their nets always in new directions. We as a church focused on possibility and hope and grace equal to every need. Now, the struggle may not go away overnight. Ours didn't. We have a bit more healing to do still, but we trust that just as things have gotten so much better, they will continue to get better. We focus on the progress, and therefore we will experience more progress. Where attention goes, energy flows. Say that with me. Where attention goes, energy flows. Energy, that's another word for spirit. Whatever the struggle, we are meant to have an abundant life. Faith can sustain you until the better days come, and if you stay focused on the good, good is what must eventually show up in your life. The early church proved it, Sunshine Cathedral proved it, and you in your own experience of life can prove it. Jesus promised us an abundant life, and today's story shows us how we can tap into the abundant divine life. Cast your net in a new direction. Look to the future, not the past. Change your focus to what is good. Be grateful for what you have, and know that the source of all good has more blessings to offer. And those nets will eventually be filled with more good than you can carry. But that's okay too, because with so much good, we'll have even more to share. But then, that's another sermon. And this is the good news. Amen. There is good for us, and we ought to have it. And there's no mixture of evil with our good. If that's good news for you today, if that is something you are ready to affirm and experience, then I invite you to rise as you are able and come forward as you will. Ministers will be here to anoint you with oil. We will crowd around this altar to support each other and pray together. And we will give miracles a chance. I believe there are miracles in abundance just waiting to be made manifest in our lives. Let's come forward and receive them today.
On the night you were betrayed, you took the bread. After giving thanks, you broke it and said, "This is my body, open to you. And as you eat this, remember me."
This is my body, open to you. And as you eat this, remember me.
On the night you were betrayed, you held the cup. After giving thanks, you lifted it up. This is my life, poured out for you. And as you drink this, remember me. This is my life, poured out for you. And as you drink this, remember me. So we thank you for the wine and for the bread. We recall the life you lived and the truth that you spread. In God our Maker, oh heavenly dove, in Christ we celebrate your wondrous love. And God our Maker, oh heavenly dove, in Christ we celebrate your wondrous love.
the Sunshine Cathedral, we practice an open communion. And what that means is you don't have to be a member of this church or any church to receive the sacrament. Just as you are, with whatever your beliefs or doubts may be, you are welcome to participate in this feast of unconditional love. My friends, these are the gifts of God for all the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Hello, I want to thank you for joining us for worship today here at the Sunshine Cathedral. Again, if you're ever in the Fort Lauderdale area, please stop by and worship with us on Sundays at 9 and 10:30 a.m. If you'd like to find out more about the Sunshine Cathedral, about our resources, or about our books published by our senior pastor, the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins, or if you'd like to make a donation to the Sunshine Cathedral, please visit us at www.sunshinecathedral.org. Until the next time, may God continue to richly bless you on your journey.